And then I'm also wondering about like the sort of secondary effects in terms of there's going to be a lot of young people out there who probably won't get the virus or be infected, but this could very likely become like the defining moment of their childhood. Maybe they were supposed to graduate high school and they weren't at school anymore, or they're just leaving university and they should be entering the job market. I guess I'm wondering to what extent, from a public health perspective, you consider or could offer any advice or insight or perhaps even resources for people who might be feeling the mental health consequences and not just the physical health consequences of this social or physical distancing.
Yeah, well, first thing I would say that, yeah, even at a personal level, I can appreciate that, because I do a bit of a shout out. My second son was actually due to graduate from engineering from university, and certainly his graduation ceremony compared to his brother, that's certainly not going to happen in the same way. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? So certainly recognize that for a lot of young people, milestones in their life that they might have anticipated, the prom and so on, aren't going to happen in the way that it would have happened without COVID-19. I think at the end of the day, I think what all people recognize is that the most important things really in life are not money and things like that, material things. It's really your health and family and friends. So I think in my sort of personal view, that's what we need to focus on. So the first one, in terms of your health, as you were mentioning, in my mind, when I look at health, I think of sort of not just our physical health, but also mental health and sort of spiritual well-being. And so from the mental health, I would say it's not just mental health per se, but how it relates to the other two aspects. So there are lots of resources out there. I think many people might be feeling sort of isolated, lonely. Certainly, I would say the government of Canada, we have a nice app called COVID-19. There's lots of resources you can tap into on the app in terms of finding connections, a wellness portal, how to connect to other people you can talk to, etc. There's lots of resources, I think, also on the internet in terms of looking at our website, but also other, I would say, trusted sites in terms of looking at resources. I would say even in your own community, I think many local governments and other sectors are looking for ways to reach out to their clientele or populations and individuals in need. So on the mental health side, that's in terms of resources that the people could avail themselves of. I think also for mental health, in terms of just trying to keep yourself sharp, right? There's lots of great things on the internet. I look at YouTube videos, taking cooking lessons, learning another language, playing games, etc. Those are all the kind of things that you can keep yourself sharp mentally. And then, of course, physically, you can also then do exercises, do some yoga, etc., looking at various things on the internet. So I think there's lots out there. And I think people certainly should take advantage of that. And as I mentioned before, besides obviously your mental health and physical well-being personally, in terms of your health, reach out to your family and friends in terms of having maybe a regular sort of a get-together virtually over coffee. What's kind of interesting is that even for myself, I find that because of this, in some ways, life has slowed down for a lot of people. So I could tell you, I have one brother who actually lives in Europe. He lives in Paris, and because of the sort of the time zone difference, normally I wouldn't really have a chance to chat with him, where everyone's so busy running around their lives. But because he's in sort of isolation in Paris, they're sort of locked down as well. And the same here in Canada. We actually made a point to do a virtual Easter. So we got together sort of a 3-4 way call with my sons in Montreal, my daughter in Ottawa, obviously my wife and myself here in Ottawa, and then my brother and his family in Paris. And we had a great chat over Easter. So I think that's so important. And of course, beyond family, I think connecting with friends in terms of, looking at doing a virtual book club, a whole bunch of different things people can think of. And I've been impressed by the creativity as shown on the internet in terms of people putting various things out there.
I think we're just old enough to remember life before the internet. So I couldn't imagine going through this without having that resource and that way of still connecting to people.
So. And yeah, you're right. It's like now, given the times, we don't have to make time to connect. We have the time to connect. So we should kind of use that to our advantage.